Hey everybody, it's Christina Zarro from Soul Positive, and today I am doing a tutorial for my friends at StencilGirl. I am in love with the botanical stencils. They were designed by Ray Missigman. So today we're actually going to make an altered library card. So let me show you. I have a sample here. I really enjoy different textures and layers in my work. So as you can see, what I did was I traced one of the stencils and hand stitched it. I did a background using the other stencils and stitched around the edges, and I think this will make a nice little piece for inside of my art journals. So I have a few of them here. As samples, I added a little sentiment, a typed sentiment on this one. And I also have this one. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing, I want to tell you the supplies that you need. I'll put a full description, like a full product list in the description of this tutorial. So you know what colors I'm using and what products I'm using. First and foremost, most important thing, I'm using the botanical stencils from Ray Missigman. Beautiful stencils. As you can see, these are very much loved in my studio. I have some library cards, old library cards. I ordered these off of Etsy. I'll put a link directly to the shop that I bought them from so that you guys can purchase some if you're interested. I have, of course, makeup sponges. I have a color palette. I put a little bit of paint on my palette. These are just some typed sayings and hand stamped words. And then I also have, this is just one of the stencils. I traced it, okay, with a pencil, and I'm going to stitch it with this thread. This is a thicker 100% cotton thread that I use actually when I mend some of my clothes and stuff, so I'll put a link for that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be making 3 of them today, so I'm just going to take 3 of the cards and we'll work one at a time. The first thing that we want to do is we're going to start on the background with the stencils. Okay, let me pull this so you guys can see. So what I do is I just go ahead and start adding the stencils with a makeup sponge. Apply your paint with a makeup sponge and I just lightly dab the paint on. I love the look of a makeup sponge because you can dip into different colors and blend it. And then really let the makeup sponge dry and then just trim it off. So you get a lot of uses out of one makeup sponge. Okay, we'll just add these onto the library cards. If for some reason you put too much paint on your makeup sponge, you really can just use like the side to kind of dab it off. That's the beauty of the makeup sponge. It's really versatile. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the backgrounds with the stencils of all 3 of my cards, and then I'm going to meet you back and we're going to move on to step 2. Have all 3 backgrounds finished, I'm going to go ahead and set these aside and let them dry. Now, once they are dry, I will go over these probably with a white gel pen. I'll leave some marks inside the actual botanicals. I will just jazz them up a little bit. I'm sure I'll splatter paint on them. I always do. I like the look that gives, the little extra pop of color. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on to the stitching aspect of this project now. I have a few of the stencils that I've already sewed, okay? So as you can see, what I did was I used a variegated thread and I just did a very, very simple back stitch all through the petals and added some marks, some X's and some plus marks. This one has some X's, some dashes. Okay, I just went ahead and pre-made those to save us some time. And now I want to show you, like I told you before, I took the stencil, I just traced it with a pencil onto this fabric. Now this fabric is not quite a canvas, but it's not as thin as like a cotton or a linen. It's a little bit thicker. I have my thread here. I'm just gonna put a knot in the end, and then I'll show you how I just did a simple back stitch. I'm not a great embroiderer, so I pretty much just wing it. You can use a hoop if you like the sturdiness of the fabric in a hoop. I didn't do that. Some projects I do, but like I said, I'm not a professional embroiderer. I pretty much just know a few stitches, but I love the imperfectness of hand stitching. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll start down here. Let me put it into focus so you can see. And I basically just start like this. Start from the back, pull it through. I'll go like halfway here, like this. Pull it through, and then what I'll do is I'll come back up here, right through here, and pull it through so it looks like this. And I'm going to do that all the way around, and then I'll add some marks on the inside. Sometimes your thread will get a little jammed up in the back. Just be careful of that, because if you go too far ahead without checking, then what happens is you have a big knot in the back. Not that it matters, because I'm going to actually machine stitch it onto the library card itself, but it's just an easier way to kind of keep everything flowing smoothly as you do the back stitch around. There are a ton of tutorials on YouTube. You can search on Pinterest, different types of embroidery stitches. Like I said, I just kept it really simple for this project. I'm gonna go ahead, finish hand stitching this, and we'll come back for the last step of putting everything together. Okay, so now you can see that this one is finished. And I have all three of my hand stitched pieces, and here's the library cards. As you can see, like I said, I was going to add a little bit of white gel pen marks, as well as some fluorescent pink splatter paints. There's actually some white splatter paint in there as well. You might not be able to see it as clearly as the pink. So now it's the time to put it all together. All right, and what we're gonna do is, there's a few ways that you can put the stitched pieces onto the library card. I'm going to use a machine for all three of them. However, you can hand stitch it on, okay? You could just do a couple hand stitches around it onto the paper. But you also can glue it. A lot of times when I'm working in my art journals and I'm putting layered pieces as my focal points, If you've followed me at all, you know I have the line of soul snacks. A lot of times I will stitch them ahead of time and then just go ahead and glue them on, because as your art journal gets thicker, you're not able to stick your pages under the machine. Sometimes if you use an elastic, to keep your signature in your book, you can obviously take it in or out, but it's just, that's something you should really keep in mind, that if you want to stitch everything ahead of time and then go ahead, put some glue on the back and put it into your art journal, that works too. You have to do what's easiest and what works best for you. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna hand stitch these. I'm going to glue the sentiments on. This one will be stitched on, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you the finished product. Okay, and here you have the finished library cards. As you can see, I just basically outlined the stencil. You can actually fray this a little bit by pulling some of these threads. If you don't care for the threads hanging down, of course you can go ahead and trim those. So let me just show you each one, the finished piece. Is that one? Here's this one. I did add a little border around each of these. If you're wondering what you could do with these are perfect for art journals. I can actually see them as pieces of happy mail that you can mail to your friends. How cute would they be in a clear cellophane envelope being sent to one of your friends to use in their art journals? You could stick them in a little bit of a frame. You can mat them. There's a lot of things that you could do. There you have it, the finished pieces. I cannot wait to put these into my art journal. I love the pops of color. I love the layers and all of the marks and the different textures. A big thank you to StencilGirl for asking me to do a tutorial. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.